Good day, fish tankers. Today we did a store tour of Fantasea Aquarium and Pet in Randburg without even leaving my house here in Stellenbosch in the Western Cape. A subscriber of the channel, Gijsbert Hogendoren, kindly offered to do the filming for me when he visits the store. So a big shout out and a thank you to Gijsbert. And let's see what we've got at Fantasea. Okay, here we start with some peacocks, some Malawi peacocks, beautiful colors on these fish. And then we go over to discus. There's some juvenile discus there, closer to a wild coloration. I kind of like these. I'm doing something different today, guys. I'm leaving the background noise of a store on while I'm doing the voiceover. Maybe it gives you a feeling of being in the store, like some people have said. But let me know in the comment section, do you prefer that I cut out all the background noise and just do the voiceover? Or do you like to hear the goings on in the background of the store and the bubbles going? Let me know in the comments. Now there's some more peacocks. They're very colorful fish, but I must say, the African cichlids, there's an OB peacock, orange blue peacock. I call them skittles, you know, the way those colors are. I kind of love the colors. And I like the fish, but I'm not a fan. I've never been a fan of African cichlid tanks, except for the dwarfs and the West Africans. Just a little bit too aggressive for my kind. But these dwarf cichlids, like you see here, is a dwarf flag cichlid or curviceps, if I go scientific on it. I like those. And there's Ceratropheus moorai, dolphin cichlid, the African cichlid with those rounded heads. Scientific names and common names change so much now these days. It used to be you stick to the scientific name, that's also changing. And there we see some strawberry peacocks and some more OB peacocks and some clown loaches. I love clown loaches, they are like their name. But keep in mind, they do grow big. They can become up to a foot long, so you're going to have to plan for that. And some more Malawi cichlids. I'm not quite sure what it is, but those stripy ones have stripes running down the length. If the scientific name hasn't changed, that's Melanachromis auratus. And they can be super aggressive. Baby Texas cichlid. They become quite impressive specimens. For some reason I'm more partial to the South and Central American cichlids when it comes to big fish. Not sure why. I think it's the aggression of the African cichlids, but then all cichlids can be aggressive. These are marbled catfish. You don't often see them. And they grow quite big, but I'm not quite sure just how big they grow. You don't see them so often. If any of you have marbled catfish, let me know in the comment section. How big do they grow? Are they manageable, like maybe an Oscar size, or do they become real tank busters? Tire track eels. I like tire track eels. But on a different subject, here we see the bala shark, and they grow into substantially big fish. So you must make sure you've got a really big aquarium for them. But if you do, they make a nice diver fish along with your bigger fish like your South American cichlids and so on. They can hold their own. And there's a pleco of some sorts there. Hyphen Leo pleco. I think the prices up there in Gauteng are a little bit better than here in the Western Cape. You know, it's hard to say because you've got to take it across the board. You know, wherever you go in an aquarium store, some things are cheaper in one store and more expensive. You know, it's much of a muchness. And there we have some comets. Don't put them in a small aquarium. They belong in a huge tank, or much better outside in a pond. If you want to do a pond, you don't want to keep koi and have a swimming pool filter on there. You just want something hard in the pond, comets are your thing. Here's a beautiful flower horn. It's not as flower hornery, it's more almost like a Vaya cichlid. But I kind of like them with a hump not as pronounced. Who are flower horn fans? My missus made me promise I'm not getting a flower horn for some reason. She doesn't like that fish, so there goes that. Some fantail goldfish. These are the type of goldfish that you can keep indoors in the aquarium. They can go in ponds as well. But have at least a 4 foot, 55 gallon, 200 litre tank. And what do we have here? Looks like zebra danios. And a nondescript sort of glow tetra there in the background. My first fish were zebra danios, neon tetras, harlequin rasboras, and a Cory, a cat. That's what I had in my first tank. More comets. We'll keep a mosquito larvae at bay in those garden ponds. The glowfish again. I'm not a glowfish fan, I must say. I think the natural colours are good enough. And you know, it's a bit slippery slope, because look at the way goldfish look like these fantails. Obviously not something you're going to see in nature. And we do line breed the fish for different colours and even shapes. So where does it stop and where does it end? And what does that say about glowfish, you know? It's a slippery line. I need somebody on the show that's more of an expert than me. And here we have a common goldfish. See, just like the comet, just with the shorter fins. The classical shape of a fish, if you look up fish in a dictionary, these are shubunkins. Basically the same thing as comets, it's different color variety. I do like them. You know, they'll go nicely in a pond along with your solid orange comets. Here's a little thing, you know, if you do that, have most of them, the orange ones, and then 1 or 2 shubunkins, your off the normal sort of colors need to be in the minority. Somebody taught me that when it comes to ponds and aquariums. Back to the peacocks. Yeah, here you can see the one there at the top towards the back there probably gets bullied a bit. There's a neat trick that I saw on another channel. I think that guy who works for Aquarium Co-op does Awa tanks. He puts PVC piping on the top of a tank with suction cups, and then the bullied fish can just go into the PVC piping to take a break from the bullies. It's a nifty, cheap idea to manage our aggression in cichlids. And here we've got 2 small ones. I'm not sure what these are, but they're not Africans. I think they are South Americans or Central Americans. They could be, I couldn't read there on the glass. Not sure what these are. They could be Texas cichlids. If you know, tell me in the comment section. Then we can learn from each other, because I'm always with these store tours, there's always a point where I'm a bit stumped. Monte Cristo. Okay. Flamebacks. More juvenile cichlids. And here we have a classical red parrot. See, that's another mutation, somewhat like a goldfish. It's a hybrid, and it's sort of line bred to give you these short bodies. I think parrots can be a quite characterful pet. I had one in the past, a huge one that was together with some big other cichlids, Oscars among them. That's still my favorite big cichlid for Oscar. I'd love to have a big 6-foot tank with a couple of Oscars and maybe a deacon or a severum and my clown loaches in. That would be a bucket list thing for me. Where I'm going to put it, I don't know. Okay, some snails, and there's the Oscars again. And you can see we've got Plastis planticus here, plastic plants, fake plants. I think it's going to be tricky to keep them with plants once they get bigger. That looks like black emperors to me, or sort of like black emperors, Valmeri. I think that's a scientific name. Interesting what they do with tanks here. It's one long tank and then it's sort of separated by this glass strip grill. Okay, I don't like those. Those are glassfish injected by dye. It's a practice I don't like, to be honest. I don't think that's very good. The glowfish, different sort of story, because that's genetic manipulation. Apparently some squid DNA. There you see the glowfish again. If you want to have these colors, then go for the glowfish. And the dwarf gouramis. Who keeps dwarf gouramis? Let me know in the comment section. And what's your experience been with dwarf gouramis and diseases lately? I've got one. I've had dwarf gouramis, and after a few months they all get the dwarf gourami iridovirus and they pass on. It doesn't spread to the other fish, luckily. But now I've got a dwarf gourami that's been here for a long time now, and that's perfectly healthy. So it depends on the stock. Nice betta here, the see-through fins. Nice colors as well. And the very underrated black neon. If you want to do a high-tech aquascape, you know, where it's all about the plants and about the scape, that is a fish. If you're only going to have one kind of fish in there, a big school of black neons. It looks fantastic, and it photographs well as well. You need to take photos of that tank for the aquascaping contests. And West African dwarf cichlid is of course the Crebensis. These are adult size. There you see there's a male in front of you in the screen, right here in the screenshot, and then these are the red bellies of the females. The females are more colorful than the male. That is unusual in fish. But with the Crebensis, it's like that. It's a great beginner cichlid. They're not fussy. They breed easily, and you will get rid of the babies. Don't expect to make money off them, but they can work in a community setup if there's a space for them in a tank to go to when the breeding activities go on. So they can work in a larger community tank where there's elbow room. Black Phantom Tetras. Nice display of the males there. And the honey red gourami, or the red robin gourami. It's actually not a honey gourami, it's a color variety of a thick-lipped gourami. So they'll grow a bit bigger than your honey gourami. And the classical angels, some koi angels over here. When they're small, it's always interesting how they follow your hand for food. I did a separate video on angels. I've got a big koi angel, a female, in my biggest tank. There's sort of a tank boss, or there's a couple of tank bosses in there. But they can be tricky aggressive wise because they're cichlids. So they leave other fish alone generally, that can't fit into their mouths. But sometimes you either have to keep them in a big school, or if it's a pair, you also got to watch them, because my female eventually killed the male. And here you have got the golden angels, as well as the classical silver angels, silver with a brown and black stripes. And we're on to some guppies now. Guys, please remember to share among your fishy groups. If you have friends in Randburg that might want to go fish shopping this weekend or early next week, please share a video to them. It will help Fantasea out as well. And thanks again to Gijsbert Hogendoren for taking this footage. Much appreciated. And there we've got a blue background. What's your favorite background? Do you use the 3D backgrounds? Do you just make it blue? Do you make it black like I do? I just find the black is easier, it doesn't show the algae. With the blue you sometimes have to do some algae scraping. Nice male guppies over here. Male Dumbo guppies, that means the pectoral fins are sort of enlarged and fan shaped. Hence the Dumbo ears, in inverted commas. More glow danios. I don't know, eh? There you see a normal danio in the middle of him with the stripes, a normal zebra danio. I prefer that. Guys, whether you like or do not like glowfish, but if you like this footage, if you like the channel, please hit that thumbs up button. I will greatly appreciate that as always. Some more danios. Lots of activity, and they're hardy fish, and they make for good diver fish. A diver fish, for those who do not know, is a fish that's always active and swimming, and it helps for shy fish to sort of come out of their hiding places because they see the diver fish swimming around, and that gives them confidence that there's no predators there, and then they show themselves more. So if I have some fish that are very reclusive, it helps to have these bold, smaller fish darting around. And that's the idea of a diver fish. It's not the same as a diver husband that you find in the malls on a Saturday, hiding out in the toys for dad or the bookstore, milling about while their wives are shopping. And here we've got some mollies with some guppies mixed in. I tend to like the black mollies and the Dalmatian mollies more. When it comes to the orange colors, my favorite would be platies, or you have a bigger tank swordtails. But I've got to say, if you just look at the run-of-the-mill live bearers, guppies, platies, mollies, swordtails that we find here, endlers that we find here in South Africa, half peaks even, I like the classic platy with a short thick body, and among them definitely the wagtail platy, the one with the dark orange and the black fins. And here we see some, these are still baby Frontosas with dwarf neon rainbows. I can tell they're babies because of their size in relation to the rainbows. I've never kept Frontosas, and that's a deep water African lake cichlid. They do grow very slowly, but they do grow big. Not as fast as an Oscar, but they grow bigger than Oscars in the end. And they're kind of chilled out, it seems to me. Let me know in the comments if you've ever kept Frontosa and how you found them. The ones that I sort of had interaction with in stores and so on, and other hobbyists, they seem quite remarkably chilled for me for African cichlids. Anyway, now Gijsbert is looking for those shrimps, and he's going to find them by... Doggone it, there he's got it. There's a shrimp going over the aqua swell there. I maybe need to get into the shrimping thing. These tiny shrimps, now that my eyes are suffering, really, I battle really to get into that. I did like my seawater, my marine shrimps, my cleaner shrimps, and my firehead shrimps, those bigger ones. We could just supersize these shrimps. There's some nice yellow shrimps as well. Any shrimpers out there, let me know your experiences. Are shrimp more difficult than fish? I found them to be, but that could have just been me. Some nice plants, and there's a cichlid hiding out there. He'll just show himself to us. There's another one behind the stump. That's the thing about fish. Hey Gijsbert, they don't pose for us. And some silver dollars. Very nice fish, but also a good diver fish for a big aquarium with bigger fish, because they do grow big. They grow about the size of your palm, perhaps a bit bigger. So they're big fish, and they can be skittish. So keep them in a group of at least 6. I had a group of 7, love those silver dollars. But it goes without saying, forget about plants. They devour plants. Even Java fern will make a meal of. Look at the convict cichlids. Nice looking convicts, but I gotta say it's not something I would keep. They breed like rabbits, and you'll be lucky to give them away because they're such prolific breeders and good parents, but they're also aggressive. Like cichlids are, but they can really punch above their weight, these convicts. I've seen them, TKO and Oscar, and there's another one. I can't quite ID that cichlid. Let me know in the comments if you can. Look at that fellow hanging out. It's a nice looking fish. Not 100% sure what that is. Okay, there we see the goldfish with some glow danios in. That's the thing about danios, by the way. If you want to keep something with goldfish, the only thing is we're limited with cold water species in South Africa. So white cloud mountain minnows I found worked out because they don't mind the cold water. But danios can also do cool water, as long as the temperature doesn't go much below 20 degrees Celsius. So if you have a home that's well insulated and that's maybe heated, they'll do well in unheated aquaria with your goldfish. Although South African homes tend to not be well insulated, and that water temperature and unheated aquaria in the winter is probably going to drop below the 18 mark. So you'll still then need a heater. It's just on a low setting. But if you want a cooler fish, those danios can work. Enough about that. There is a Malawi eye biter, I believe, that one with a compressed face. It's quite an impressive looking fish. And some mbuna. There's a Venestus. And of course, no, I almost thought they had plants here, but that's plastic plants. And there's a Plecostomus. I think it's a common pleco. It might be a Giviceps, but they grow really, really big. So think twice before you gotta get a common pleco. You need a big enough tank for that. I've gotta say, nice variety of fish here at Fantasea. I definitely must pay them a visit when I'm up in Johannesburg again. I stay here in the Western Cape, and I'm also into boxing. I write for a magazine in America called The Ring. So I'm up in Johannesburg and Gauteng when there's big fights on at Emperor's Palace, and then I try and fit in a store tour for the fish part. And now here we've got some nice koi. But we might see some more tours now that Gijsbert is helping us out. Look at those koi go. Red-tailed catfish.
Yeah.
And we all know by now these grow into huge monsters. So you've got to have a really, really big aquarium to keep them long term. In actual fact, a tropical pond with a glass front is what you need. So you can be that guy with his basement or his garage with a tropical pond there with monster fish. If you're happy to stay single for your rest of your life. Who likes monster fish? Let me know in the comment section. And what kind of tanks do you have to keep them in? Here's a bit of hardware, those ACDC air pumps, some Langa Aquaswell, all the usual treatments and bottles, and fish food as well. Basically all the familiar brands I see here. Quite a variety over here. There's a classical angel, sort of a marbled molly, almost a Dalmatian molly, but a little bit more black. Crebensis there as well. pearl gouramis. Oh, this you don't see often. There's an archer fish that just went past us. These are the fish that spit little bugs from overhanging branches into the water and eat them. I believe they like brackish water, but this clearly isn't brackish water. As long as the pH is not too low and it's on the alkaline side, they do work. There is the archer fish as well. On that channel MD Fish Tanks, he made a very nice archer fish tank. Go and check it out, and he trained them to spit food off the side of a glass, sort of almost paludarium like that tank. They do grow a bit bigger than that, but they're not monster fish, but they need a sizable tank and a very interesting fish. If you want to do a brackish water tank, maybe you can do the archer fish and some gobies. There you have a nice view of a store. And lots of dry goods. All the usual suspects. For those of you that like the brightly coloured gravel, you know, there's nothing wrong with it as long as the fish are healthy and well taken care of. Nice spider wood there, I wouldn't mind that. Sponge filters, there's the Antopy and your normal sponge filters. It seems to have more or less everything you need. Some more spider wood. And there's a marbled catfish again. And some black coolie loaches. Jana, hello if you're listening. I'm not sure if you are, but Jana is a farm manager there at our family wine estate, Rainbow's End, and eventually now she sits with a tank with just coolie loaches, and she loves it. The coolie loaches are out and about and much more active and less shy that way. So there's something to be said for that sometimes. Here we have a black angels. And guys, that's it from me. Please remember to subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you for your time for filming this Gijsbert. And until we see each other again, take good care of those domestic denizens of the deep.